Some people, they don't have any place to escape to. They use the military to escape their childhood and their family, and they come into this organization, and then they get traumatized by the organization. Then they have no place to go. When the military says, you're a piece of shit, we're kicking you out, we're taking your tab, they're done. Like, that's a death sentence. And that's where the mission, the purpose, the focus, and the identity and the belonging comes in.
If you grew up in a hostile, volatile environment, and that becomes your operating default mode, it's gonna seem counterintuitive to try to live a different way. And it's hard to like tell guys like, dude, it's not a strength.
In the absence of chaos, we find or create it. Everyone's like, oh, Geoff says everyone's got a bad childhood. That's not the case, but I'd say about 50 to 75% do. And then you have this other smaller group that grew up in completely loving homes, emotionally available parents. They wanted to be patriots. And those are the dudes you see do 30 years. And they do really well. They're well adapted to stress. But when you have people that come into our organization with their bucket already half full or almost full from childhood trauma, they're going to be really good to a certain point where they lose the ability to compartmentalize, and then they're going to circle the drain fast. And that's where you're seeing the dudes excessively drinking and doing drugs.
So today, I want to dive into your journey, man, not just all the great work you're doing, but where it began, so people understand that this is something that was founded on lived experience.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to, again, like you said, we always want to look at the physical part first because we think we have all the mental stuff figured out. Oh, I'm a Green Beret. I made it through all these hard things.
No.
And then it's like, wait a minute here. Like, to get through hard things, you have to come from a certain type of background to be able to compartmentalize and get through pain psychologically and physiologically, right? And what happens is when we come out of the chaos, that's when we feel everything. It's not while we're deployed. It's not while we're in schools and doing all those things. Sometimes you feel it in schools, but it's like when you're distracted, you don't really see what's going on at the root. And that's where we really have to focus. And, you know, the only reason I was ahead of that is because of what happened to me at an early age. And I had to learn from that experience. So when I came back into SF, I knew not to hide it or lie about it or compartmentalize it because it did not serve me well at all at a young age. It cost me my dream. And I was like, you know what? Like, there's something to this. I know what this is. Like, I know.
And what was that? What was that you were going through?
So it's when I got medically discharged out of the Navy a few weeks before graduating BUDS. You know, I came in.
Shit.
Yeah, I came in the military to be a commando. I always knew what I was going to do. And literally a few weeks before graduating that program, I had the rug pulled out from underneath me. And for medical reasons, and you know, I didn't fully understand what was going on at the time while I was going through training. I just knew that if you said anything, you were going to get dropped from training. I already had one med roll. You know, I went to phase 3, my first go, and then got med rolled. And I thought it was just the physical stuff that was going on, but I didn't realize, you know, after Hell Week, I had some physical damage that happened during Hell Week, got crushed by a boat. And then it was like I got severe infections, lung, ear, nose, and throat after Hell Week, pneumonia and cellulitis. So I got pumped full of drugs, fluoroquinolone, Cipro, which can cause tendon ligament rupture, nerve damage, psychiatric issues, insomnia, anxiety. All of a sudden, I went from this normal, confident, nothing can fuck with me kid to I'm falling apart. I don't know what this is. I can't sleep and I'm having anxiety. I didn't even know what anxiety was. And it was like I was a different person and I wasn't bouncing back. And I was getting worse as every day went on. You know, physically and psychologically, something was happening and I didn't understand what it was at the time. Fully know what it was now, but I was losing the ability to compartmentalize. And it almost wrecked me. Thank God I didn't give up, because I can tell you when I got ripped out of my tribe and, you know, didn't have a backup plan, tied my identity to what that was, I was like, oh my God, that was like the aha moment of, I know why people kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, imagine leaving that, having all that happen at a super young age. This is in the 90s. This is 1998. And
Damn.
we didn't know about TBI and PTSD and all these things that were happening, like operator syndrome, but I had it. And I didn't even go to war. You know, I went through training, but I can tell you what, it was every ounce of PTSD. And I wasn't like, poor me, like I got this thing. It was like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. My guts are messed up. I'm in pain. I have anxiety. I don't sleep for a week at a time. You know, the only way to sleep was to get myself so exhausted I would pass out. And so that would just be saying yes to everything and doing everything known to man, like projects, taking on things. And it wasn't until I had the aha moment of this is my nervous system. This is me getting ripped out of my tribe. This is me with an identity crisis. I need to go finish what I started because this is leaving a major hole in my life. And to be whole, I had to overcome that adversity, right? That post-traumatic growth. I knew if I didn't overcome that, I would be wrecked probably for the rest of my life. And so it was like, okay, let's re-engage this. Let's figure this out. Let's get back in. Let's do what you've always dreamed of doing. But now you have a purpose that's not tied to what's on your uniform or your MOS or your Trident or your SF Green Beret or whatever it was. It was, okay, what was the lesson in this? What can I give back to help other people? And so fast forward, I get through the entire Q course and I do 3 deployments. Like for me, man, like I came back in May of 2003. This was like height of the war in Iraq just kicked off, right?
Yeah.
Like everything was happening. I literally went through 18 X-ray. I went through basic training the second time for the Army. I went through AIT Airborne. I went through SOPSI selection, Q course, graduated the Q course, had to go through 6 months of Pashto language, went through SEER, and then I went to Mid-South and went straight to Afghanistan, did 3 deployments, boom, boom, boom. And then I got picked for instructor duty for Cephalic because I was going through a divorce. And they're like, you need stateside time for a little bit to go through this. But that's when I started noticing all the problems, right?
Yeah. And that's a myth that we need to be able to break down. Like sending somebody to range 37 or any high performing school is not taking a knee. That you're amping it up. Now you're in charge of some of the most dangerous, the most demanding training, and we're gonna say, yep, this will give you some time. Like it is insane. Our guys need to understand that this is not a take a knee place. This is a place where you're gonna like, hey, like who can do this, and they're gonna be okay demanding or being demanded and being asked to do the most, quite honestly, one of the most demanding jobs. Yeah. So shout out to all those cats.
Yeah, I mean, think about here's the crazy part, like leading up to this, right? So from 2007 till 2009, basically, all I was doing was I did 2 Cephalics, I did Sephardic, and then a deployment all in the same year. Like one after the other, and then did that deployment and came back and then went to become a Cephalic instructor. So from 2007 until 2011, all I did was get my head blown in, breaching, shooting, deployments, spendexes. Every year what the 18 Bravo has to do at range 44 on Fort Bragg, like sit there in pallets of rockets, Gustav's mortars, like just a condensed period of time. All of a sudden the wheels are falling off. And I was like, what, here we go again. It was like, I went right back to the Navy, but this time I was like, I need to say something and I need to do something about this because, unless you plan on just permanently stationing me in Afghanistan and keeping me over there, I was a liability to myself, my family, and my unit back here.
Yeah.
I was falling apart, was not doing well at all. And I was contemplating life. And I was like, why do I feel this way? And that's when I really started diving, was like the 2009 10 time frame was like, what is this? And that's when I learned about, neurotoxicity, TBI, toxic exposures, the effects of chronic sleep deprivation, chronic stress, childhood stress, trauma, and started like putting all these things together. I'm like, these all have the same end state. All of these things affect the body the same way. They're just different mechanisms to get it started. And that's when I was like, if I'm exposed to all this, understand the operational environment, right? If I'm in this environment, these are known effects. I just did the 18 Fox thing. I'm like, okay, it's mission analysis. There's the threat. This is how it affects you. This is what I need to do to protect myself. This is what I need to do to assess myself for the damage. Threat vulnerability assessment, TVA. Like, do it on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, blast overpressure, impact concussion, sleep deprivation, heavy metals from explosives and munitions.
This episode is brought to you by Pure Liberty Labs, quality supplements designed to elevate your health and performance. Check out their full line of quality supplements, whether you're looking for whey protein, pre-workout, creatine, or a super greens drink. Pure Liberty Labs has you covered. Use my code SecurityHalt10 at checkout today.
I just went through all the things and said, okay, what damage does this do to the nervous system, to the endocrine system, and went straight through and learned how to do all the lab tests and diagnostic tests to look for it. And I literally went to my providers and was like, hey, man, I think I've got this thing over here. This is how to test for it. Will you do it? And they're like, who the fuck are you? Like, it was like, you know what I mean? It was, yeah, it was like one of those things. And I'm like, hey, man, like, check it out. I'm a Green Beret problem solver. I got this thing going on. It's not just me. It's all these other people, but they're not talking about it. Operator syndrome. And I'm like, I think it's this over here. I think we need to look at hormones. I think we need to look at inflammation markers. I think we need to start testing people for toxins. And I think we need to put the radar out for blast overpressure and impact concussions, like jumping and, shooting and breaching and all those things. And it was like, whoa, pump the brakes, turbo. It was like,
wait.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like any of these things. I mean, the blast overpressure, they know over 5 PSI, you're getting permanent harm, right? I can tell you from wearing glass gauges and being in houses and being next to heavy weapons that we are far exceeding that 5 PSI mark, right? And it was just like, well, we can't stop. We're in a war. I was like, yeah, got it. But what we can't do is tell people that this is not affecting them. What we can do is say, hey, we understand that there's some implications here. We fully don't understand it yet, but if you're having problems, we need to run these tests to make sure that your hormones, the things that are responsible for you bouncing back psychologically and physiologically, to make sure that they're where they need to be so we can keep sending you to war so you can remain resilient. And then if we know you're in the caustic cocktail of toxins from burn pits, from air pollution, from munitions and explosives, we know it's there. What's looking you to make sure that when you come out of that environment, we're giving you everything you need to clean and repair. And it was just like, no, we've already looked at that. It's not a problem. It was total gaslighting. I'm like, bullshit. And when I learned about how lead stores in the body, like calcium, and you can get a KXRF x-ray to look at it, I was like, hey, I'm going to Mount Sinai. And this was with Task Force Dagger. This was in the beginning before I stood up the program. I was volunteering for him with a dagger dive. I was like, hey, can we go look at this thing? Because I got a hunch that more people than me have got this. And we started sending people to get KXRF bone lead x-rays. And what do you know? Like, we look like lead smelters. We had lead in our bones. So literally the smoking gun, because I was like, oh, where's the smoking gun? I was like, it literally is the smoking gun.
It's a human being.
Yeah, it's in us. And lead is not even the most dangerous one, but it was the easiest one to prove. It was like, hey, man, just because you're not in that environment anymore, all that stuff you're exposed to is staying in your body. And after that, it was like, okay, we can't shut him up anymore. He's on to something. And then, that's when the momentum and the tide changed as far as who's this dude out here tilting windmills, talking about Mefloquine and, toxic exposures and cancer.
That's a big one I want to hit on, but they just released a study and information on what's inside our MREs. And it's like, it's a no-brainer to not have arsenic, heavy metals, nickel in food, but they're willing to just throw whatever they can into it for preservation so they can continue using it. And I will tell you, MREs do expire. They do expire. And having to eat moldy, expired MREs is one of the worst crimes that the DoD has ever done to service members during the GWAT. It's like, it's already bad for you. Now you have to eat it with mold.
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I put a thing on my health initiatives page about that the other day, but it goes back to humans are more important than hardware.
Yep.
Okay, like until we start getting all those droids out on the battlefield, carrying rucks for us and doing all this other shit, like we don't have an endless supply of recruits to backfill us. Like that pool is dwindling. Over 80% of the population ineligible to join the military because of health reasons, low IQ, drug use, criminality, all those things are there. And you got millions of dollars invested in us. You might want to put better food in our bodies. And it's like if you had a Ferrari, you'd never take it to Jiffy Lube to get serviced and maintained, right? Like we're talking tactical athletes with millions of dollars invested. And it's not like we go to the fucking Olympics and get a medal. It's like if we don't do our job, we don't come home and other people die. We don't get trophies, you know? And it's like we should be doing what China's doing, is making super soldiers, right? Like we're not athletes.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
We're not athletes. We're not NBA. You know what I'm saying? We're not Olympic skiers. We are people. We're a weapon system. We are a weapon system, a human weapon system, and we get sent to die. Like we go to the battlefield with real consequences of not coming back with a trophy or a bonus, right? Like you're gonna do. If I was in charge, I would do everything humanly possible to make the most resilient super soldier there ever was. Healing
Absolutely.
faster, not getting sick, healing bones quicker, better equipment, lighter equipment. I would invest every dollar we had in doing those things. And then what are we going to get for an ROI? We're going to get someone who performs better, lasts longer, is happier, healthier, and they're a walking recruiting poster. Hey man, I came in here, these dudes took care of me. Look at me, look at all the shit I got, all the benefits I have. This is where you want to be. This is the Olympics that you want to be in right here.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like it's future science, but a lot of it is available right now. A lot of the things that can enhance our performance and our survivability on the battlefield are available right now. And people with the means and the budget are doing it and, talking about it on social media. Like if we have the ability and the resources to do it, why don't we put money into it? Why don't we give our special operations guys the best resources and the shot at coming back? That's the reality. If it's available for our civilian populace with a lot of money, we should be looking into it. But I want to go back to Mefloquine because I've talked about it before, but when did you come to understand that Mefloquine was such a toxic and volatile drug?
2007. So my 05-06 trip, I took it. And I was I was a new guy, take it every Monday. And I'll tell you what, man, you want to talk about some vivid ass dreams of, paranoia, thinking the Mongolian horde's going to kill you every night. Like insane. Like everyone's aggressive as hell with each other. And it wasn't until 2007, one of our new guys, 18 X-ray, came in and they're like, hey, take this every Monday. They gave him the blister pack. My medic did. And instead of taking one every Monday, he took the entire blister pack at once.
Oh, no.
And he started becoming severely angry. Like, I want to kill everything. Get me the fuck out of here. Like, he started having major issues. And they're like, are you taking steroids? Like, what are you doing? This dude never taken a steroid in his life. You can count his ribs. You can count his ribs. His first deployment, he doesn't know what this shit is. He's like, they're like, what are you taking? And they're like, what you told me to take. And he was like, I took this. And he took the whole blister pack at once. And I was like, it was like the light bulb went off. I'm like, I started doing a little bit of research on it. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this shit's, it's a psychotropic drug. Like, pilots can't use it. If you take one Mefloquine pill as a pilot, you are barred from flight status till a full medical review. And I'm like, holy shit. If you go to the FAA's website and look at Mefloquine, it'll tell you the same thing. And I was like, how the fuck is this safe for us to use? Doing split-second decisions, night vision, shooting, explosives, heavy weapons. You know what I'm saying? Like CQB, like if a fucking pilot can't use it because it causes psychosis, paranoia, disassociation, spatial awareness issues, like.
Yeah. The most vivid psychotic dreams you've ever had. Yeah. And it's so real. You wake up thinking that at any moment the cops are going to come in and arrest you. Yes. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. And add Ambien on top of that and Valium on top of that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, like look at Robert Bales, what happened in 2011, I think it was.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep.
And he got a gag order not to mention that because they were looking at Mefloquine and some other drugs he was taking, especially Ambien. No one talks about that one.
It's one of the most dangerous and has the strictest black label warning.
Yes.
And we're still giving it to troops because, it's for sleep. It does not help you recover. It doesn't do any restorative benefits for the brain. It knocks you out, but it is not sleep.
It's an amnesiac drug. You can go on a killing spree and not know what happened. Oh, imagine that. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Add benzos on top of that Valium. dissociation, psychosis, like 3 medications that he potentially allegedly was taking.
This episode of Security Halt is brought to you by Dr. Taylor Bosley and Precision Wellness Group. Let's be real. By now, a lot of New Year's resolutions have already fizzled out. Life gets busy, motivation drops, and health ends up on the back burner. But here's the truth. There's no better time to start than right now. Precision Wellness Group specializes in hormone optimization and hormone health, delivering personalized care and treatment right to your door. If you've been dealing with low energy, brain fog, poor sleep, or stalled performance, hormone imbalance may be the missing piece. Dr. Taylor Bosley and his team take a data-driven, individualized approach to help you get back to operating at your best. Security Halt listeners receive 25% off their initial consultation when they use Security Halt 25 at checkout. Click the link in the episode description to find out more and get started today.
Have black box warning label for suicidal ideation, homicidal rage. You know what I'm saying? Like all of those things. And then it was the steroids. It was the testosterone that caused it. That's what they focused on. And I was like, okay, dude, if that was the case, we would have a lot more of those things happening overseas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We never deep dive into what's really causing it. Right now, what we have Duke Webb. That's one of the biggest cases that's on forefront of the media because Duke did a heinous crime. He took innocent lives at a bowling alley. 100% cannot excuse that. But you need to put all the facts out there. You need to state that he was on heavy doses of meds that counteracted each other. He wasn't being treated. I mean, one of the medications he was on was for Alzheimer patients. They don't talk about the TBI. You don't talk about everything that was going wrong with him and the lack of true compassionate care. And he's not the only one. And that's a scary part because we don't advocate for ourselves. I guarantee Duke sat there across from that doctor and was like, well, you know best. I'll take whatever you give me. And how many of us have done that? I did that all the freaking time. You know best. I'll take this medication.
Zombie cocktail.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Free reached out to me because there was an article, I think it was the New York Times. He's like, hey, dude, did you see this article? First thing I did was look at the medication. I went straight to the FDA black box warning label and I sent it back to him. I said, do you see this? And he's like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, bro. But the FDA has lobbied. So when people shoot schools up and do all these things, you can't publish what medications they were on.
Yep. And that's so wrong. That is so friggin' wrong.
Yes. And what do you think? What do you think's going on with that? Right.
Yeah.
I had one of my clients the other day called me up. He's like, hey man, he's like, I went to the gym and worked out and came home and have no recollection of it. My son said I was gone for 4 hours. And I was like, okay, what medications are you on? Take a guess what he was on. Sleep med, Ambien. And I'm like, how long you been on this? And he's like, well, just a week. They just gave it to me. I said, have you been having X, Y, and Z? He's like, holy shit. I sat on the black box warning label and showed him all the adverse side effects of that. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, I was sleep driving. He's like, I have no idea I was driving a car and went to a gym and worked out. My son told me. I was like, okay. So when guys are waking up in the middle of the night, choking their wives out or shooting them or doing crazy weird things, and you're wondering, they could have been dreaming it, but in reality, that was happening. And if you remember in 2002, a bunch of guys came back from Afghanistan and murdered their wives.
Yep.
Okay, what did they give you on the way to Afghanistan?
Every single time, Ambien.
And what
Every
else?
single time.
What did you take 2 weeks prior to going?
Yeah, your malaria pills.
Okay, what did you take when you came back?
Same thing. Like going back and nobody's talking about it. Nobody ever stops to say, what are we doing? Why is this an ongoing contract? Like it blows my mind that because we think we're doing the right thing. Because I've seen one of the best Air Force enablers I've ever seen got malaria in Afghanistan. Horrible thing to see somebody go through. Dude was sick. And that only reinforces the panic of, oh shit, I slacked. I wasn't taking it. So the guys take it. And on the backside, every single Green Beret, every single special operations guy that I talk to, either offline after we do a podcast or through the DMs, everybody talks about the same thing. Everybody divulges the same fear. And it goes back to being able to advocate for yourself, being willing to say, hey, wait a second. I'm going to talk to my doctor and I'm going to bring this stuff up. Like we have to stand firm and say no more. I want to be here for my wife. I want to be here for my kids. I want to be here to be that team sergeant. I want to have this career of that I can walk away from and say, I did it. I did everything right by my team, but I'm not willing to take this medicine that is extremely hard. Like, and you don't have to take your Ambien. You absolutely do not. And I will tell you right now, if you think that the go pills they gave you on deployment are great for you, they are not. We joke about it. We laugh on the backside of it, but would you ever consider taking it here stateside, just wanting to get a couple hours more of work? Probably not.
The funniest thing about that is actually probably the safest med they ever gave us was modafinil. Like, honestly, that's like and that's the one that was banned and said you couldn't use.
Yeah.
Like modafinil is what like billionaires in like Harvard.
Yeah, the armodafinil are crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how they're getting through college. That's how they're running Fortune 500 companies. But it's actually one of the safest ones that no one talks about. I'm not advocating for it by any stretch of means, but it's the least dangerous one. And it's the one they're like, no, this is terrible. Like, that's how you know when something's effective, when the FDA says, don't do this. Like, that's what they did to testosterone.
I will say this. It does have diminishing returns because on the backside, a lot of guys are getting it prescribed when they're going out of the military. And I experienced it firsthand. Oh, you told me to take this daily? Absolutely, I'll take it.
I knew Adderall was being prescribed. I knew they were giving people modafinil.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And guys are and whenever there's a shortage, the first customer that doesn't receive their fill is a veteran of VA system. And we had two of those shortages in 2022, 2023, 2022. You go to fill your prescription and it's like, I'm sorry, it's not available today. And it's immediately you're like, my superpower is gone. Work on your ability to have attention span the hard way. It's hard. It's not fun, but you'll be better for it. And there's tons of people out there. There's tons of research on how to do that, how to tap into flow state and how to be present, locked in the present moment. Like that's one thing I will tell you. Don't think of the short-term gains of being able to crush a college class. Like, I'm telling you, it's better to work on it the hard way. It's a discipline, man.
Well, like, the irony to that is that when you actually calm the brain down and you slow things down, you get way more focused and much more clarity. And that's something we do with neuromodulation in our program. Is the first step we do before anything else is downregulate the nervous system and help people get clarity on things. And when you turn the volume down on the sympathetic nervous system, the brain comes back alive, and parts of the brain that have been in hibernation for so long because you've been in for survival mode for so long, they start to come back, and it's like, hey, I can see colors, more vibrantly. I can hear better. I can understand better, and I can concentrate. I can read a book now. And it's not like we went in there and pumped them full of drugs. We took everything out of the picture and simplified things. And guess what happens when you do that? Like things start functioning a lot better. And it's crazy. Like when you see people after doing psilocybin, ayahuasca, ibogaine, or ketamine assisted therapy, they come back and they're like, I've never had more clarity in my life. It's like, I know what I've been doing to myself. I know why all these things are happening. I know what I need to do now. And when I've done it, you know what I'm saying? Like when I came out of that, I was like, how the hell did I live that way before? And then you can feel when you start backsliding, when you go back to where you were, you're like, okay, man, like we need to readjust fire.
I'm so glad you brought that up, man. It's one of the greatest experiences you'll ever have. And you feel like you'll be tapped into and holding on to a superpower that is beyond comprehension to truly like try to sit down and try to analyze it. But at some point you let it, like you said, you backslide. Don't get angry. Understand like, okay, I can still do the work. It just requires discipline. Like it's sad. It's like, oh man, I had everything. Now I backslide. I let the bad habits get a hold of me. Let it go. Move forward. Be resolute in your focus and what's best for you. And you'll understand that it's not about tapping into that journey and that experience over and over and going to the next resort, going to the next ayahuasca trip. No, you tapped into something amazing, get the lessons from it, understand it. But if you chase the medicine, at some point it'll stop talking to you.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. And that's, we don't advertise it in our program. The medicine talks to you, right? It calls you. when you're ready. And so we don't have to go out there and tell everyone, hey, you should go do this thing. Most of the time when I get people, they're like, hey man, I'm ready to go do this. How do I do it? And then we hook them up. We get them with the right institutions and organizations to get them, screened, make sure there's integration therapy on the back end, some coaching and stuff. And then most importantly, you can't go do all that work and then come back to the same environment and think you're going to have different results. And that's one of the biggest things a lot of organizations fail to address is what's going on at home and what am I coming back to, whether it's rehab, plant medicine, ketamine assisted therapy, or anything. If you don't fix that home environment, your nervous system always goes back to the familiar health because that's
Yep.
what it knows. And so whenever you go back into a chaotic environment, guess where your nervous system's going to go? Straight back to chaos, straight back to, hey man, I know that hell, and that's where I thrived, and I'm going to stay in hell. And what is the hell? It's all things fun: alcohol, tobacco, females, and firearms. It's all the high risk behaviors, survival mode. It's the lizard brain, the limbic brain, where you're hijacked. You're in the amygdala and you're just reacting to everything in your environment and you're not thinking long term. You're getting your needs met. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, like that is default behavior in survival to get your needs met. And that's living off dopamine, adrenaline, and cortisol. And
Yeah, so true, man. Absolutely so true. And that's why it's what I find particularly difficult is explaining the fact that if you grew up in a hostile, volatile environment and that becomes your operational default mode, it's going to seem counterintuitive to try to live a different way. And it's hard to like tell guys like, dude, it's not a strength. Being hypervigilant is not something that like, we always hear about the veteran. It's like, I can't sit without my face facing the X. I can't sit this way and I have to go this way. It's like, man, you'd actually be a better sensor. And you actually be a better protector if you let go of that. If you just found peace and like bringing that out and letting individuals understand that it's not about trying to squeeze control and everything, but letting go. It's one of the hardest things. Like, with Task Force Dagger, you guys reach so many of our soft veterans and active duty service members. Have you found it difficult to talk and champion healing and recovery?
no, it's the opposite. We get everyone coming to us now and they're like, hey man, I don't want to live that way anymore.
Yes.
You helped all these people. They told me I need to call you. I got one this morning just as we were on here. Like, hey man, my psychiatrist told me to get a hold of you. I could screenshot it and show you. But like their psychiatrist told them to get a hold of me to get this. But I mean, it comes down to this. In the absence of chaos, we find it or create it. And because we're used to that, like, everyone's like, oh, Geoff says everyone's got a bad childhood that, is an SF. That's not the case. But I would say about 50 to 75% do. And then you have this other smaller group that grew up in completely loving homes, emotionally available parents. They wanted to be patriots. They wanted to push themselves. We do have that camp. And those are the dudes you see do 30 years and they do really well. They're well adapted to stress. But when you have people that come into our organization with their bucket already half full or almost full from childhood trauma, they're going to be really good to a certain point where they lose the ability to compartmentalize and then they're going to circle the drain fast. And that's where you're seeing the dudes excessively drinking and doing drugs and cheating on their wives and killing themselves. That they lose the ability to compartmentalize and all the things they did to distract themselves don't work anymore. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey man, because I've been acting like this, I ruined my family. I ruined my career. I did all these things. I have no control over it. Whereas someone who grew up in a good environment, like I use my environment that I grew up in as a reference point, I was like, I need to get out of this military environment for a little bit and go back to where my roots were to get my head back on straight. And thank God I had that. But some people, they don't have any place to escape to. They use the military to escape their childhood and their family. And they come into this organization and then they get traumatized by the organization. Then they have no place to go. And it's like, what does that person do that doesn't have a safety net to go back to? And then when the military says, you're a piece of shit, we're kicking you out, we're taking your tab, they're done. Like that's a death sentence. And that's where the mission, the purpose, the focus, and the identity and the belonging comes in, right? There's a reason why we had issues with motorcycle clubs in SF, because for a lot of people that, the team life went away, that motorcycle club still provided that family. It provided that belonging, that sense of tribe. That's why they started after World War II, to fill that gap. Okay, recognize that as a military, to be like, okay, man, like, we understand who we're bringing in, and we understand what potentially could happen after we put more trauma on top of you. Let's acknowledge this, put it out in the open, and be like, hey, man, like, we understand what's going on here. We understand why people are coming unglued. Let's provide them the services to get help before the disaster, before the DUI, before the domestic violence, before the suicidal ideation. Like, let's talk about this. We don't have to say safe spaces and all that bullshit, but we say, hey, man, if you're the guy that's doing everything they're supposed to do and you're not bouncing back and you're struggling, here's who you can talk to that's not going to try to pump you a bucket full of pills and tell you it's all in your head. Let's provide the tools and the resources to go do a little deco stop and get some maintenance done, and then reevaluate and see, hey, what can you take on again? Think of how much money is spent on the back end of disasters and catastrophes. Like, now we'll help you. And, after you have cancer, how many millions of dollars for cancer treatment? You know what I'm saying? Like, we do everything after the fact instead of being preventative and proactive. And that's what our program does, is we get ahead of it, and it works the same way we plan missions, conduct operations, do medicine the same way, you get the same results. Precision.
Well, let's dive into that. Let's dive into Task Force Dagger. How did it come about? And tell us about the early years.
So 2009, the surge in Iraq had happened. People are coming back mangled. A bunch of guys from 5th Group got together and like, hey, man, we got to do something. 5th Group and 3rd Group, 7th Group had the highest casualty rates of, SOCOM. And they were like, what are we going to do? Families couldn't get to places. People are in Germany, Walter Reed. And so they started off by helping people get hotels, flights to go see their family members, special medical equipment that TRICARE, wasn't covering for people. It started that, and then started off with an annual event, the Dagger Dive. And then it branched out. And that's how I got involved, was because of the diving aspect of it, myself and my warrant officer, Scott Gronowski. And we went down there as staff. And then next thing you know, volunteers, next thing you know, we end up as staff. And then that was in 2010, 2011. And then, mind you, I told you I was going through all that health stuff, and the foundation's like, hey, man, what's going on? And I told them what was happening, what I needed to get better. And they supported me. This is before the health initiatives was even there. I went and got all my stuff done, all my things looked at, all my hormones fixed, all my heavy metals pulled out of me. And then I was like, hey, man, we need to do this for everyone else, not just me. And I was like, can we start this program, a functional medicine-based program that looks at lifestyle, environment, and genetics? And they're like, yeah, man, go for it. Just, here's your left and right limit. Let's go. Let's do this. And I can tell you right now, when we did that, everybody else in the nonprofit space is like, we're not kicking this hornet's nest. We're not ruffling feathers, quote. Because when I brought up all the toxic exposures, the cancer, the suicide, and all that, nobody wanted to touch it. It was like a hot potato. And we did it. And we were out there, sounding the alarm bells of this stuff. And a lot of people didn't want to hear it, but here we are, over 15 years later, everybody's on the same page now. So it was good to know that the foundation was there when we needed them as a community, and that it continues growing and adapting with the community. It's not a Band-Aid organization. Our goal is to work ourselves out of a job. We don't want to exist. We don't need to be doing this. The DOD and the VA should be doing what we're doing. Health insurance companies should be doing what we're doing. And it's like, so that's our goal, is to work ourselves out of a foundation. But in the meantime, here we are. And there's still a huge gap. And, from acknowledging the cancer issue and the toxic exposures to implementations, anything that we identify in a community in the military is a minimum of 10 years to actually implement something to counter it.
Wow.
Minimum. So when we started talking about heavy metal toxicity back in 2010 timeframe, there's, protocols and procedures and tests that people are supposed to be doing and systems in place, like EILERS, the individual longitudinal exposure recording system in the military. It was over 10 years. And even now, most providers don't even know that thing exists, and they're not recording stuff. And so it just goes to show you, like the cancer thing. Like we
Yeah,
were
that's a
saying,
huge one.
yeah, we were like, hey man, enough of your friends died. It's going to set off alarm bells. In third group where I was, we lost a lot of people real quick, and we all knew each other. And we were like, what the hell is going on here? Young dudes, pipe hitters, dropping dead like flies. And we're like, it's got to be the environment. It's got to be the lifestyle. We went back and looked at it and we're like, yeah, no shit. And so when we started doing the genetic testing to see if this was genetic or if it was exposure, about 80% of it was coming back as environmental exposures. And then the military was like, "Poop, shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
like,
That's the crazy part. That is the crazy part, that we're losing. And
Yeah.
some of the stories, like, yes, like individuals that are, I mean, faces of group, individuals that are longstanding members of the organization, that you see them when you're a young guy, you see them throughout your career, you're like, man, that's the person I want to be like when I get to that point in my career. Like, those types of individuals are falling by the wayside. They're dying of cancer. And I believe that the individual organizations are doing a great job trying to help, trying to direct people to the right organizations. But our military as a whole needs to start doing better. The higher echelon, the higher leadership needs to start doing better. Same with the VA. Like, I mean, going through and talking with people, hey, when you in process did your first initial screening with the VA, was cancer ever brought up? No, not one. Not one time, not one single time, because again, it's not about treating something. It's about keeping you alive and keeping you comfortable. Like, we're not going to spend that much money on you. And that breaks my heart. That to me is one of the biggest injustices. Like, we're not going to be proactive about keeping you around longer. And cancer is something that, I mean, we have great organizations out there, but I think we need more. We need more research. We need more advocacy, because it's not slowing down. It's not slowing down.
No. I mean, think about this. With cancer, you find it at stage 1, you're over 90% going to survive this thing. You catch it at stage 4, you're under 10% are surviving that thing. So if you look early and look often, that's something, we're launching a new program right now with TFD, and Special Forces Trust is launching theirs too with early cancer detection. We're going to be offering this as like standard care. When you come into our pipeline, we're going to run some labs on you to look. One, we're going to take genetic family history. We're going to take high risk MOS career fields. We're going to take high risk known areas of high probability of cancer exposures, carcinogens, and then we're going to test you. And I'm talking a few $100 now, because all these things are getting FDA approved. The costs are coming down. Why wouldn't you do that? I would get a cancer. We do HIV screening every year. Why not do cancer screening every year? Like, spend a few $100s up front, save millions on the back end. There's only one thing that I would think that would be conflict of interest of not doing that, and that would be people losing out on a lot of money when they're talking about cancer treatments.
You fucking said it. When you control the sickness and you control the healing, you're making a lot of fucking money.
Yes.
A lot of fucking money.
Billions of dollars every year.
No sense. It makes no sense. And some of the horror stories of misdiagnosis, where somebody was screened and something was known 3 years in advance, and then later on down the road.
Yeah, bring Rich on. But Rich Stayskull is a prime example. Oh, no, you have bronchitis. He's like, no, dude, I can't run. Oh, you're too heavy. You need to lose some weight. Dude was a friggin' stud. He had lung cancer. He was at dive school, and he couldn't hold his breath. Go figure. And he got misdiagnosed like 4 times, and that dude is still alive and still thriving. Like, you know what I mean? He's not supposed to be here right now, but he had to go out and start his own act for the Ferris Doctrine to override the ability to sue the military for malpractice. But if you want to get another guest on here, get Rich on to tell his story. But like, just things like that. And for a few $100, man, like when we roll this out, it's called Comprehensive Operator Maintenance Program, but it's going to be all the preventative, proactive stuff. So you come in, for a set amount, which is pennies to the dollars when it comes to strategic costs. And you roll this out within a few weeks, I can look at everything. I can look at all your biomarkers. I can look at all pre-existing genetic conditions that predispose you to some other things. I can look at all your gut health, your digestion, your absorption, your hormone synthesis. Look at all these things and then give you immediate feedback to tell you this is exactly what you need to do to correct this course. And it's done in the same way we did our operator assessments at Career. Red, amber, green. Here's optimal by age. Here's for tactical athletes over here. Here's average, you're yellow with the mean. And then red, we need to intervene now or you're going to be in trouble, right? And when you can show someone a simple report that's red, amber, green that tells you where you are with all the triads and looks at these things, and then here's your corrective action, here's your maintenance plan, and then you have a provider that doesn't have to gaslight you and tell you, oh, it's all in your head, take the drugs, you'll be fine, and says, hey, man, we're going to implement these changes, and then we're going to monitor it through wearables, we're going to monitor it through other labs, and then we're going to reassess it 6 months and see where we're at. I'm talking less than $5,000 a person for over a year of medical care to do cancer screening, to do genetic testing, and to do gut hormone health, inflammation markers, everything. Why wouldn't the DOD say, okay, let's do this now? And it all comes back to what do we do when we find it? And that's where the military is like, what if we do when we open Pandora's box? Who owns it? If we find the cancer, what do we do? Fucking treat it.
You treat it.
Treat it. That's what we do. And then you got to do that survives it and you don't have to pay for him for the rest of his life or his SGLI or whatever and wreck an entire family. Treat it.
Yeah.
Like
humans are more important than hardware.
You should be celebrating this. Hey, look, we did something about this. We acknowledged it. Not that we play dumb. It always comes back to recruiting and retention. Like if we tell people they're going to do this, they're not going to want to join. Fuck you. Do you think firemen have a shortage of people that want to be firemen or police officers? There's a line. There's a waiting list for fire departments. They all know the risk of going into a burning building and breathing in carcinogens. They know. That's not changing it. So it's like the NFL. You know you're going to get freaking CTE. You're going to get concussed. They compensate you. They take care of you for the most part. And they provide the resources to get top-notch medical care. There's no kid that says, I don't want to be a professional athlete. There's no kid that says, I don't want to be a commando or a fireman, right? Like, acknowledge the risk, put the tools out there to mitigate the risk, and do something about it, right? Stop kicking the can down the road. And it's insanity. Like, I look at it now, I'm like, it's going to be forced. Like, it's going to get to the point where it's going to become a national security issue that we're losing. So, like, look at how many people are obese and overweight in uniform in the military right now. It's not because they're not working out.
This episode of Security Halt is brought to you by Dr. Mark Gordon and Millennium Health Store. If you've listened to this show, you know how seriously we take brain health, recovery, and long-term performance, especially for veterans and high performers. Dr. Mark Gordon is one of the leading experts in neuroendocrinology and traumatic brain injury. He's just released his new book, Peptides for Health. Both the medical edition, Volume 1, and a consumer edition, Volume 1, are available right now. The book breaks down how peptide therapy supports brain health, hormonal balance, recovery, and resilience in a way that's practical and evidence-based. You can get 25% off the book by using code PTH25 at checkout, valid through March 15th. And for Dr. Gordon's proprietary health products, Security Halt listeners can receive 10% off if they use the code PHASE2P. Click the link in the episode description to find out more and visit Millennium Health Store today.
It's because of what they're eating, they're not sleeping, and the things that they hold in their face all day, and stress. And it's not the stress that we're like, oh, we're training them too hard or anything like that. It's just they never have downtime. And to get people to recover, repair, and have hormones and digest and absorb and do all those things, like we don't provide the environment to do it. Recovery is not in the schedule. It's like you go to regular Army line unit and look what they do. They run and ruck every single day. Where is recovery in that? The number one cause of med boards is musculoskeletal issues. Knees, shoulders, backs, hips. That's all because of poor recovery and being in a constant state of catabolism.
Yeah, putting a young 26-year-old in charge of a fitness regime and they don't have the foundational knowledge to do it. I was there. Like that's when we're going to run and then we're going to rock. And it's not saying that they're not smart. And I'm just saying from having the experience of being a leader in a conventional unit, you're doing the best you can with the information you have. When your platoon sergeant and platoon leader are like, this is what we're doing. This is how you should be running your team and your squad and PT. And it's like, okay, they know best. And then the bodybuilder on Instagram tells you this is how you get jacked. This is how you get bigger. It's like, oh, this is what I need. Like we don't have And the H2F program, come to find out, after talking to a lot of the people that run it, they don't have the freedom to walk in and implement plans of action.
No,
Like it's crazy. But
they fought against it
yeah,
pretty bad.
they did, absolutely 100%. And it's like embrace the future, embrace holistic healthcare and taking care of your people. Because at the end of the day, that's the biggest recruitment. Those are the people you want championing the MOS, the station, the choice, all these things, and soft specifically. Like when you have an influencer out there that's saying like, hey, like they're really taking care of me, they're really looking out for my health. That matters these days to these kids, and we need to understand that. And I have to dive into this now, like being in a profession where you're of service, you have a purpose, you have a mission. This can be very overbearing. This can take on so much of your life and become such a focal point. How do you take care of yourself now? How do you take care of Geoff? How do you take care of what Geoff needs in order to continue servicing others? Because I have to imagine it's a lot like running a detachment. It's a lot like being the ops NCO and the sergeant major. There's a lot of work to be done. But how do you tell yourself, like, hey, that's enough for today?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that was literally me this week. We just had a come to Jesus this week, because right now I'm the only one doing intakes and consults, and I've got over 130 active cases right now, and I'm seeing anywhere between 20 to 50 per month, and and that's not sustainable, and it's burning me out. I can feel it. I'm backsliding, and my heart rate variability was tanking. And so I was like, all right, I need to get way ahead of this and get caught up so I don't have a backlog anymore. So I was taking calls, and like as soon as they were coming in, I was calling the person doing the consult over the phone immediately. I usually do a 1 hour one-on-one with every intake that comes in. And I was starting to get way ahead of the game. And now I'm trying to get someone else hired on board where I can train as a coach. That way I can go up and out again. I do all the meta seminars, I do all the talks, the workshops, and do all that stuff. I need to be out there doing that. Like it's just like being a team sergeant. When you get promoted to 18 Zulu, you want to be the 18 Bravo still down in the weeds doing everything. So
Yeah.
you've got to learn how to let go and trust the people that you have in your organization. So me right now, finding my replacement, training my replacement, and being able to, have the confidence. I had that person, Jenny Schaefer, was with me. I had all the confidence in the world. I could be gone forever and she could run that. And she got burned out too, because a lot of people don't realize the emotional toll. So I don't get people that are doing okay or great. We get the worst case scenarios, the multiple suicide attempts, the substance abuse. Like, hey, if I don't do something now, I'm going to kill myself. Imagine that, when it's like, okay, I've got to walk this one through. I'll use an example. I had a couple this month that were failed inpatient rehab 4 to 5 times, multiple suicide attempts, Baker acted multiple times, and went through a program again, and then came out and it was like, hey man, I'm spiraling. I need to do something now. And it was like, okay, I got to ketamine therapy, stellate ganglion block, get in an inpatient TBI program. Like, you have to walk these people through handing them off to each one of these organizations and making sure, talking with their spouses. Like, that's just one case. So imagine the 130, and making sure that they're connecting with each one of these resources, and you're doing a warm handoff, and then going back and checking on them and making sure they're good. So it's called C4. It's consulting, coaching, case management, and care coordination. That's what we provide to every participant coming in the program. They're going to get that for a year, sometimes more. But we're going to get them in the pipeline, get them in. It's like, the reserve parachute's going off. We're getting them down to the ground. We catch them. And then hey man, let's triage this. Let's get you into the right places. And then it's just connecting them with the resources. And we have the most amazing partner organizations out there, right? Like, I have over 20 strong partnered orgs I work with every day, and we're each reverse referring into each other's programs. And if it wasn't for that, man, we'd be losing a lot more people. I can tell you that right now. And that's a testament to the organizations and the people that run and are part of those organizations, that they give a shit. They care. And yeah, man, it's phenomenal. But at the same time, I'm going back to the emotional toll that takes of, okay, knock on wood, there's the potentiality of losing somebody any day. And that's the one where it's just like, ugh, like, expectation management. When we hire someone, bring them in the program, everyone always likes to see the kumbaya stuff. Like, oh yeah, when did I gain an ayahuasca and I came out of this? But they didn't see that person leading up to that. The struggles they were going through, like it's insane. Like watching Waves in War, and you watch all those people's stories that are in there. That's what I deal with every week. Like if I could write a book, childhood trauma, moral injury, like all those things, that's where I see people coming unglued. It's, what happened to me, how it affected me, and how I'm projecting that on everybody and everything around me until I heal. And that's the root. If you get to the root of what's driving that behavior, guess what happens? Yeah. And then guess most importantly, the family aspect of this. We're a family-based organization. When we are that monster going through all of that, we bleed off on our entire family. The entire family's affected. And so if an organization is not taking that into account, you're going to send these people to go do all this cool stuff in Mexico. They come back and the family's going, what about us?
Exactly. The resentment, the anger from the spouse that was there from day one, constantly supporting, understanding, walking on eggshells. You're not going to be met with somebody who's like, oh my goodness, you're healed. They're going to say, battered and beaten and tired and on a hair trigger saying like, what about me? What about us? What about the decade plus of having to deal with this? And how can we get help? And I think that's one thing that a lot of organizations need to focus on. When you in process somebody, figure out a way to address the family, take care of them.
Yeah, that's the first thing we ask is like, hey man, like, because I do spouse consults a lot and also female operators. And it goes right back to that. And they're like, hey, no one's ever wanted to know what we go through. No one's ever asked us what we need. And once they do, they're like, oh my God. They're like, where has this been? And when you get two people to heal, guess what? They're not seeing each other as the problem. They see the problem over there, and then they see each other as two people that need to solve that thing over there instead of doing this. And once you start doing that, you get a lot better results. And then after you help people, they become the next advocate. They're out there helping the next person, pulling them in. And we don't advertise our program. That's where we get the majority of our people from is, hey, you help so-and-so. They told me like, this is where I need to go. And when they get in the door with us, they get access to all the other organizations. And so we're not in competition with anybody. And that's the coolest part about it is that we all help each other. And if there's something we can't do, like if I get someone who's not soft, I have 3 or 4 solid partner organizations where, hey man, call this person right here, or here's the intake enrollment. Do this, we'll take care of you. I don't say no to anybody. And so vice versa, when they're like, hey man, we don't know what to do, they call us. And they're like, hey, last resort, we're like the special operations organization. We take the hardest missions. So, and that's what we're known for, is being 24/7. If something happens, someone's going to respond to you, and within minutes, someone's going to respond and say, hey, we got your back.
And that's the most important thing, man. Keeping the discussion open, the dialogue open. You never know. I mean, we have a high focus on special operations because this is the community we come from. This is they have a lot of issues. They took on the brunt of a lot of the GWAT, but our paratroopers, our mortarmen, our conventional forces also were in the fight, and they did some insane stuff. So of course they're suffering. And I get it too. They're like, hey, is there a special forces foundation, that version of for paratroopers? Like, where do we go? And being able to refer them somewhere rather than being saying like, no, absolutely. Here's where you go, reach out, connect, and understand like you have to be willing to ask for help. Like this stuff can quickly snowball and get out of hand, and you don't deserve to be fighting this alone. None of you do. Like there are resources and people out there that can help. And all it takes is you taking a knee, calling, reaching out, whether a website, a phone number, or an email. Get out there. Yeah. And speaking of that, where can people go to find out more?
So I'm gonna, while we're still on the subject of I'm not soft, how do I get help?
Yeah.
Wounded Warrior Project, Semper Fi Fund, Avalon Action Alliance. There's in
Yep.
Boulder Crest, like they all take first responders and military vets, and also Mission Within. Mission Within Foundation is also taking care of first responders, non-soft and soft. And so they're out there, man. But I mean, as far as us to get help, you know, social media is where I get a ton between my Facebook group, the Soft Health Awareness page, my Instagram page, Soft Health Initiatives page. All those pages are where I get a lot of people come in, they find out about us and all the podcasts that we do. But I mean, go to the website, www.taskforcedagger.org, go through, look for the programs, click on Soft Health Initiatives, and there's an enrollment form in there if you need. And the big thing is like active duty, you have to go through Warrior Care Program, Care Coalition. You can't take benevolent support as an active duty service member. Anything over $25 in value has to be cleared through a benevolent request JAG approval. And so commanders, though, absolutely 100% can reach out to us directly to help their service members. It's the JAG reviews, it's to protect the command. But if the command needs to utilize us, they can absolutely do that without any BS involvement. The other thing is if you're a veteran, you can reach out directly to us and get support. But that's what we do. I mean, our biggest limiting factor, besides we need to hire more people to do this, is funding. So we're always looking for corporate partners and people who want to put money towards actual people recovering, not, fishing and hunting trips. They all have their purpose, but we are not a Band-Aid organization. We are root cause. We go start to finish and then beyond. So you come to us in need, we train you, we educate you, we empower you, you become the next advocate, you're the force multiplier. So everyone that comes out of our program now knows how to help other people and their family members. So it's not just I did this cool thing and then see you later. We have 3 core programs. The immediate needs we talked about in the beginning, how we started, the recreational adaptive events program, which is think of like Wounded Warrior Games, Invictus Games, or think of National Ability Center out skiing, mountain biking, kayaking, rock climbing, rafting. We have all these opportunities that are family-based activities to reintegrate and actually figure out there's more to life than the military. And getting out in nature, healing, recovering, being present with your family, and actually have purpose again outside of uniform. So that's our second program. And then the Health Initiatives program is a program that I'm the director of. And that's looking at everything lifestyle and environment, operator syndrome, cancer, toxic exposures, all that stuff. Start to finish pipeline. So
nice. Yeah. Guys, do me a favor, pause the episode right now, go to the episode description, click those links. If you're suffering, if you're in need of help, reach out today. There is no other way than to tap into your vulnerability and just ask for help. Stop suffering, stop isolating, and just ask, man. It gets a lot easier, and the problem seems all encompassing and impossible when you're just dealing with it by yourself. That's a reality. It seems impossible to slay that dragon when it's just you and the resources in your head. When you stop, take a knee, reach out for help, you see that the answers are not only simple, but they're right there, reach away. These programs aren't going to be something that takes weeks and months to actually enroll you. These are things that you can actually get involved in and start taking action today. So please do me a favor, reach out today. All the links are right there. Geoff, again, thank you so much for being here. One more time, where can people connect with you online?
Go to my Instagram page, the Soft Health Initiatives Instagram page. LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, professional networking. But yeah, reach out through the website if you need to get a hold of me. And then, like I said, don't suffer in silence. Get help. Get somebody else help if they need it.
Heck yeah, there you go. Guys, thank you all for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care.